Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Zero to Hero. Over the next couple of weeks, you'll be following along this series of me trying to go from actually level 1 all the way then up to Keystone Hero. I will be, pogging my way the whole way through and share some tips and some things that I learned along the way. So yeah, stay tuned and let's get right into it. So first thing first, we need to create a character. And I was really, I wanted something that I actually didn't have that much experience in playing. And right now through season 2 I've been maining a mage, and now I also switched to evoker, and before I played a lot of tanks. So I actually still was feeling up for trying something casting, like a caster class. And what I ended up with was actually the Warlock. I have of course actually played Warlock before. I have played every class before. In Shadowlands I actually dabbled a little bit into Destruction Warlock mainly. So I have played Warlock a little bit, but not at all pushing it into Mythic Plus. I haven't pushed it into really difficult content to see how it holds up. The reason for Warlock, besides me not being completely experienced, is also because it is a class that, in a lot of ways that we'll talk about later, is kind of differs from what I normally like, but it also has a lot of things that I really enjoy. So I'm really interested in exploring those things. So yeah, that's how Felnut's the Troll Warlock got created. Now, all we need to do is some leveling. With level 10 now reached, we can actually select our talent trees. And I actually started off this whole leveling experience as destruction because that's what I was thinking I would, go into doing this challenge with. But I am actually going to switch it up and actually go with demonology later on. As you probably can tell from this montage, I don't my leveling journey is basically a mix of questing and doing a lot of dungeons. It's basically kind of have to do it when you're playing as a DPS because the queues are longer than what a tank actually is. It's not I have a specific goal or guide or speed leveling or anything similar to that. I am just actually really enjoying the experience. Leveling in WoW is surprisingly really fun and really relaxing when you let it be. After 6 or 7 hours of leveling, we hit level 60. So you know what that means. Off to Dragonflight. Now I was lucky enough that this week while I was leveling, we had Timewalking actually. So if you're not aware, you get almost double the amount of XP from a random Timewalking dungeon than you do from a regular Dragonflight dungeon. So if you need to level some alts or need to level at all, and you see a Timewalking week coming up, saving them for this is a really good idea. You do need to be level 60 though. It is only between 60 and 70, but it's a really quick way to level up. So with this background footage, I actually really wanted to talk a little bit more about my experience with leveling. I mentioned before that I really enjoyed it, and it is really relaxing. It's one of those activities that you can kind of shut your brain off and just, mindless going through it, because leveling isn't difficult. Nothing is really gonna kill you, and you're so you don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, I actually also really tried using this leveling as a learning experience. Learning, especially now here when I'm playing demonology. I switched to that and I really surprisingly enjoyed it. I have tried demonology before, but not something I really have delved a lot into it or anything like that. I have been mainly playing destruction. But actually trying out demonology is super fun, and I used the leveling experience to learn about this class. And again, there are things you can learn from leveling, and there are certain things you can't take from leveling. For example, as I mentioned before, it's not difficult, so having to use your defensive is not something that's really going to come up in your leveling experience. The same way as looking at the damage meters also doesn't mean anything in leveling experiences, because there's scaling and there's other things that's going to mean that some players are just going to be level 10 and do one ability and gonna like stomp everyone else, and you're gonna be 58 and do no damage on the damage meters. But what you can learn from them, from leveling experiences, and what I've picked up on is the feeling of playing your class, and the feeling of like using your cooldowns, and like when is the right situations for using it. Something specifically that has come up with the Warlock in my experience has been the movement. This is something that's it's really clear in Destruction, and I was surprised that it's also very much here in Demonology as well. The Warlock feels very sentry orientated. So, and with that I mean like your whole stick is like, you know, you want to be move as little as possible, and that's true for like every casters. But Warlocks feels a lot like they're getting punished more in the sense of they can't really like recover from a lot of movement. With Mage, you know, you have your blink or your shimmer that, you know, instantly just can like grab, like go onto like new position. The Warlock isn't like, you know, it doesn't really have the same thing. You have Burning Rush that just makes you move faster, but you will also lose HP from that, and that's also something I'm like nervous about. Not nervous, but like I'm curious to like see, well, how much is that actually gonna hurt me in Mythic Plus when I'm actually pushing keys and doing things? Because right now, yeah, it's whatever, like, you know, no problem at all. But yeah, the movement has been a huge thing, like actually trying to like pick up and run with the tank and make sure to like, you know, that everything is going and like you manage to get all your damage out. It has been a challenge. So you saw me right there switch back to Destruction, and Destruction is really like fun, but it also does really emphasize the whole point that I mentioned before with you are Sentry. You are meant to be like put down or like placed down in one spot and just, you know, throw everything you have at it. As soon as you have to move, you're not really generating shards, so that means that I'm not gonna like pump out damage. Yeah, Warlock are only like supposed to like, or not supposed to, they can really only do damage when they are standing still. So movement is really punishing on a Warlock. With that said, like, again, as I mentioned before, you can use these leveling experience as ways to learn about like navigating this whole situation. Sure, you can't really do damage when you're moving, but you could, you know, if you see your tank slowly start to move or the pack slowly start to move, like you can save up shots and you have your instant cast and stuff like that. You can use those to like generate wild movement, and that's why like if you really learn to like look at the tank and like notice their movement, notice, okay, are we gonna move soon, or can I like, you know, just stand still and blast away? So I actually haven't, to be honest, made a decision if I'm actually gonna stick with Destruction or Demonology. I might actually change it up during the challenge here, because I actually do really enjoy both specs. I really enjoyed Demonology actually, which kind of like took me by surprise, because when I think about Warlock, I really just think about Destruction. But I managed to, at the end of his video here, I managed to hit 64. So the next video you will see will be me being hit level 70, and also like I will give you some tips on like, well, how do you actually gear up really fast, because there are actually ways to do it. You can, of course, probably like I will, you know, use gold, but there is actually also other ways to actually get gear really quickly to get into Mythic Plus. But yeah, with that said, really excited to try out and push out like how far I can push the Warlock here and see whether like that leads. And yeah, so stay tuned, and and I'll see you in the next video, in the next episode of this challenge. Take care, everyone.